such an asshole.
Good morning. It's morning. We have a request. I think he wants to remain anonymous, but this is from a website called Ashkulally. Like actually, but it's Ashkulally. Dear Cappy, my request is for you to do a video response to my post on the definition of empowerment, which I'm actually kind of interested in because I even did a video, I think, about it a while back. Maybe I talked about it. But I'm so confused because the left have taken words and made them mean not what they were intended to mean, which means they can assign any definition to it. But I found empowerment very flummoxing, confusing. What's like, what are you not empowered to do? Usually in the context of women saying we're getting empowered, but it could mean other people too. And I kind of look at it from the, logical, Aaron, are you being logical, actual, and empirical? Yeah, imagine that. I want to live in the real world. I mean, you're empowered. What were you not empowered to do? What is this empowerment? But and even though you can't define it or object it like, oh, that's empowerment. Boy, some gals really want it. Oh, they want themselves some empowerment. I'm like, why are you not? You can vote. You can drive. Go to school, major in engineering. You can do what? You can what? What are you not empowered to do? You could get a gun if you want. What are you not? Where are you being not empowered to do what you want? And so I think, where I have a hard time wrestling with it is I take the literal definition of the word because I want people to be empowered, male or female, doesn't matter. Yeah, go do it. Yeah. But I have a feeling it is now taken on psychosomatic. Is that the right word? Is that the right term? It's taken on a mental concept, a psychological, philosophical, even religious concept where I'm empowered, yay! And just saying that, even though you already were empowered, but claiming that you're going to be empowered or pursuing empowerment has a psychological, emotional, intangible value. So the word is now battered around like a shuttlecock. You guys remember high school badminton? And it's that metaphorical definition, or not metaphor, that philosophical definition somehow gives people value. Like, I'm empowered. I'm like, well, yay? Know what you're talking about. And so it's very interesting. What is the definition of empowerment? The post is in two parts of 400 plus 300 words. If you think everyone gets the idea of the first part, then example 2 can be excluded from your response. Well, I'll read the whole thing. Anyway, the link is down below. The blog in general is called tdcommenter.blogspot.com. And this is the one here. It's titled The Two Empowerments in the Clarity Podcast. Oh, okay. So I did do it. All right. In the Clarity Podcast 340 and a subsequent consultation, Captain Capitalism addressed empowerment in a pair of articles and had difficulty pinning down how the word empowerment was used. The root difficulty is a dual definition similar to equal opportunity versus equal outcome. Likewise, empowerment has an individualist and a collectivist usage. Oh, look how, okay, you define very clearly. Okay, that's good. One empowerment is the power of capability to self-actualize. The individual develops the knowledge, skills, and will to overcome obstacles and accomplish achievements to rise up Maslow's hierarchy. In contrast to the self-actualization empowerment or self-empowerment, there is a leftist version born of pop psychology. See, I'm not just good looks and charm, aka self-esteem culture, and has infected pop culture through Oprah and self-help books. Podcast number 340 examined the example of a tattooed 37-year-old woman. To recap, she felt empowered by naked mountain climbing. The climbing was done both for the camera and male co-climbers. She appreciated the online praise for her pictures and real-life attention and encouraged other women to do the same. The first trick of pop empowerment. That's good. Pop empowerment. That is that. You nailed it, kid. You nailed. Well, I don't know. Maybe he's older than me, but you nailed it. Pop empowerment. Not real empowerment. It's pop. Is to give praise and good feelings without requiring actual achievement. I'm going to read that again. You did sit down and take the time to. The first trick of pop empowerment is to give praise and good feelings without requiring actual achievement. So could we say pop empowerment, or the leftist Marxist psychotic definition, is just feeling good, just praise, self-love, self-worship. We could also call it work avoidance, but it's so they're misusing the word obviously. And for those of us who live in the real world, it confuses us. But it's when it's just feel good poppycock. I mean, that's what it is. It's self-praise for doing nothing, really. She got more publicity for stripping in an unusual setting than if she had been the X-thousandth to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, though the latter would have been a much more daunting achievement. Pop empowerment is artificially flavoring without any nutritional content. Oh, this is good. The second trick is to substitute group action in lieu of individual action. She called for other women to strip en masse. With enough numbers, she could conceivably reduce the social stigma on public nudity. While this is power to create lasting societal change, this power is wielded by the group at the expense of the individual's time and energy. The third trick lies in her pitch to these women. By selling other women on stripping to become empowered, the naked climber is implying that they are currently disempowered. Okay. And that's what the Democrat Party, the leftist parties in there. If you do that, see, right now you're not empowered, you're oppressed. But if you do that, protest with your shirt off, that empowers you. Let's give another example. I don't know if they do these much anymore. Do you remember hearing about the slur walks? I can't use it. It's rhymes with mutt. It starts with SL. They had slur walks because they weren't empowered to walk around in skimpy outfits before. Like there was a law against that. But you're right. If you can, you can't do that because you're not empowered. We're gonna empower ourselves. Like, well, you could do it. It would just be consequences. Consequences we're trying to avoid have happened to you because we would like it if you weren't kidnapped and had bad things done to you because someone saw you. The third trick lies in her pitch to these women. By selling other women on stripping to become empowered, the naked climber is implying that they are currently disempowered. Specifically to this case, other women aren't getting the same attention as her. Therefore, they're missing out by keeping their clothes on. In addition, my gosh, the little hamster wheel. In addition to persuading the dupe to buy her cure, she's also persuading the dupe that they have that particular problem in the first place. Perish the thought that the other woman need to hit the gym or something, or that you're empowered and this woman's a crazy woman, and that you don't have to be climbing rocks naked to be empowered. I mean, you could climb rocks naked all you want. No one is stopping you. Just, maybe don't do it by a highway. There's plenty of remote places within the world that you go climb naked if you want. Hell, I've jumped into a ton of pools naked when hiking. You find that nice little, like a stream-fed pool, hot, take off all the clothes, jump in. Example 2. With the nude climber, the stakes are merely likes. With the nude climber, the stakes are merely likes in a brief local interest article. If we multiply the scale by about 400,000 times, we get the Million Man March of 1995. In that setting, these tricks become more apparent. The ostensible goal of the march was to improve Black lives in the inner city. From the fiery but peaceful protests of 2020 to the present, we could surmise that these marches failed to meet their goals. Yes. The first trick in promoting feels over reals was apparent with the Day of Absence. To show a solidarity for inner city economic growth, they pushed participants to not show up for a day and not produce economic output. When was that? Was that for, I thought that was for, wasn't it women that weren't going to show up for the Day of Absence? So they pushed participants to not show up for a day and not produce economic output. The second trick was apparent in the fact that this march was followed by more marches. Million Mom, Millions More March, Million Muslim, Million One. Were there that many million something march? Basically, to get the same feeling and of progress and unity, they repeated the same group action. The marchers were encouraged to pour their energies into the political organization and held a voter drive. They were convinced that a lack of political involvement was the problem, and political empowerment was what they needed. Okay, we put on big, maybe not big display, an individual display or a big display. Hey, look, you're missing out. You're not empowered to do this. You got to get active, which you could be political. Again, you weren't prohibited from being politically active before. But maybe it triggers them to take action. It prompts them to action. And mislabeling it as disempowered. But now through our protest or me climbing a rock naked, you can be empowered. And so yeah, it's just an abuse of the word. It's like, well, you could have done this all the time. You were not disempowered. That they needed. The solution was to further empower the same political party rather than the inner city for decades and ran them into the ground. What? Detroit isn't great. Compton's not a Singaporean level urban utopia. In contrast to actual history, we can only imagine if 500,000 had focused the past 25 years on getting youth into trades of the right major. It was encouraged in the fine books Worthless or The Black Man's Guide Out of Poverty. Right. No, if you had, well, and I've said this about, this was the woman march against Donald Trump where they had the pink hats. And I looked at the resources, the money and the effort and the time. I'm like, what if you all just worked and donated the money to a women in STEM college fund? Like, wouldn't that close the wage? And protesting in general is a complete waste of time. I mean, it's just a waste. But yeah, I mean, the lost opportunity cost, what that labor, money, time, and resources could have gone into had 25 years ago at the Million Man March. Yeah, because of 1995. Right. We say, okay, you got to get into the trades, join the military, don't get no girls pregnant, keep it in your pants, go major the right thing. Yeah, we'd have a whole generation. A whole generation of Republican voters is what we'd have. But that was as you astutely point out, the goal was not to actually help out poor inner city Black kids or close the wage gap with women. It's to basically empower a political party, in this case, the Democrat Party. Through pop empowerment, these hundreds of thousands were put into motion to advance the causes of politicians, activists, and media. And don't forget nonprofits. Don't forget nonprofits. And the media who got a story, and many marchers walked away with only a warm, fuzzy feeling. And that, I think, it's all about the feelings. It's not about actual progress. It's all about the feels. I think you nailed it on the head. That we have to, when someone says, I want to be empowered, we cannot take the literal definition of it. We have to understand that their interpretation of empowerment is being able to have permission to do something, societally speaking. Like, you can protest, you could go do this, but there has to be the display of an action and saying, like you said, you're not doing this, you're not empowered. And then, I want to be empowered. It's like, no, you want to be given an excuse. That might be you have the excuse now. Although excuse would indicate you're doing something wrong. There's nothing wrong with hiking mountains naked or protesting. You have permission and you have incentive, and you are prompted into action to do this because we've shown you you're not doing this, therefore you're not empowered. But now, okay, it's permission to do something. It's permission. And it's ultimately masturbatory because it's not going to bring, ladies, just in case you were wondering, for the smart girls that do tune into this show, climbing mountains naked will not improve your life. If you're just wondering if they'll close the wage gap, it will not improve your life. Well, thank you very much. The link is down there below. Very well thought out article. Any super chats here? No. All right. We're out of here. Toodles.